Previously, my sister set me up in front of the whole class, and I locked them up in the school bathroom. However, I couldn't fully enjoy my success, as the next day the two class leaders fought for my attention. Hi everybody, my name's Emma, and I recommend you watch the previous episodes before starting this one. When you're done, come back and watch this one to the end. Today, I have to make a very difficult girlish decision, which boyfriend to choose. Smart or handsome? Handsome or smart? Suddenly, I found myself overwhelmed with all these love affairs. I was so confused. Somehow, honestly, I was never interested in any relationships while I was at the boarding school. No, I've seen some older guys get together, dating, and I even knew the truth about the birds and bees. But I've always had some more important things to do, instead of wasting my time on these stupid feelings. And just out of the blue, I started liking two guys, and I knew they liked me back. And they were both good. Jackson was a fancy hunk everybody admired. He was a cool school leader, and he came from a rich family. He drove a fancy car his parents gave him as soon as he got his driver's license, and he always spent a lot of money. And yeah, I forgot, he was very handsome. I mean, 100% handsome. I would even hang a poster with his face on my wall and admire him all the time. The only thing was, he didn't have enough brains. In contrast, Harry was smart. He could talk on a lot of topics. He knew a lot of different things, and he knew how to use it all to his advantage. Of course, his appearance was far from perfect. He wore some shabby sweaters all the time, which had stains on them. And the most terrible thing was these big, stupid glasses on his nose. But I think this was really the case when it didn't matter what a person looked like, because I really wanted to know his soul. And well, his shape was quite good, judging by how he confronted Jackson in a fight. Anyway, I had a big dilemma. I didn't know what to do. It would be fine if I had some real feeling towards any of them, but falling in love wasn't my thing at all. I even tried to flip a coin. I've flipped it a couple of times, by the way, but even the coin played tricks on me. The first time it fell on Harry, the second on Jackson, and so on. It all ended up the wind blew my coin away into the sewage drain. If it was about someone else and not me, I would choose Harry. The mind is something that is really cool, especially when a person knows how to use it for their own benefit. As Dad would say, it's the heart's choice. When you choose intuitively, you get to the point. But I liked money more, as well as prospects for the future, and my hormones, which suddenly woke up and squeaked joyfully in my head, like in the head of some young fangirl, said that I should choose Jackson and hurry before he changed his mind. However, the remnants of my brain insisted that Jackson had chosen me among other girls and could change me for someone more interesting or beautiful. But in general, I was more about to choose Jackson. I've had no experience yet, but am I not a manipulative genius? I don't think it's harder to convince anyone of his unearthly love for me than to get rid of annoying guardians or bores in the boarding school. In order not to make a mistake for sure, nobody would give me the right to make a mistake and to correct it, I decided to conduct an experiment. So to say, to look at two males in their natural habitat. I also wanted to test my skills in romance, for I began to doubt that I was almighty. I chose Saturday for the test, when we had no classes, and I actually made the guys ask me out with a couple of hints, both at once. Yeah, on the same day, but at different times. Jackson had to show himself during the day, and Harry had to arrange a romantic evening. The guys didn't let me down and were tricked by me. I got my invitations exactly when I was planning to, even with the right time. And Jackson was the first part of my entertaining program, and I expected something grandiose from him. At the appointed time, I was waiting for Jackson at the house gate. I looked rather pretty thanks to my mother's help, and he arrived in his fancy car, with a bouquet of flowers, and with such a smile that even my knees jittered. My sisters almost jumped out of the window with joy, and even my mother smiled friendly and sweet. By the way, the bouquet wasn't for me. It was for my mother. A kind of extra coin in a piggy bank of good attitude from relatives. And then we went for a ride through the city. During the ride, I was just looking and listening, and I rather didn't like what I heard. Yes, Jackson was cool and everyone knew it, but why repeat it every 5 minutes? Then he took me to the mall and offered to go shopping. Like he was going to pay and all that stuff, and girls love new things. Well, I went shopping. Why shouldn't I? He offered that himself, and I really liked all kinds of beautiful things, so why should I refuse? We finished our date in a cafe in that very mall, covered with bags to the top of my head. I sat there again and listened to him, and sometimes nodded when it was appropriate. Well, my boyfriend didn't need me to say anything. He was satisfied with everything, especially since this way he could tell me about his own poshness without being interrupted. And then Jackson took me and my bags home and tried to grope me. He said I should let him in gratitude for the time he spent. Dream on. Yeah, I'll get right on that. Of course, I immediately pretended to be an innocent girl and only let him kiss me on the cheek. He should keep distance and stay out of the way where he was not called. Moreover, he dropped the ball with his motives. While I was preparing for the second date, I shared the impression from the first one with my mother. Mother Jessica said that I was good and would go far, but it wasn't worth seeing that alpha loser anymore because he was a bit shadowy and too selfish. I didn't expect anything from Harry. I just wanted to have a good time with a nice person, no matter where. All the more so, thanks to Jackson's bragging, I wasn't hungry and had beautiful clothes. But a smart guy is a smart guy. He came without a car, on foot and by bus, but he also brought flowers. And not only for my mother, but also for the twins, and for me too. It was cute. The girls immediately changed their mind about falling in love with a handsome posh, and gave their attention to Harry. And then we went somewhere. We took a direction to the park, but we didn't stop there and went further. Somewhere where decent paths and lanterns were replaced by a real forest. To be honest, I didn't even notice it, for I was fascinated by the conversation about novelties in medicine. Harry was an excellent storyteller and knew the stuff perfectly. In fact, he retold the last lecture from his club, but with his own examples and considerations. Though I was far from medicine, I listened to him with delight. And when I realized that we hadn't moved for 5 minutes, and when I looked around, I almost fell down on the spot. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. We were standing on a rock, and stars were shining in front of us, as far as the eye could see. Thousands of stars. There was a waterfall below, almost imperceptible in the dark. The trees were swaying in the wind, and I thought I was standing right in the middle of space. And when Harry pulled out a small telescope and plaids from behind with a mysterious smile, I realized that I had fallen in love, because there is nothing in the world more interesting than stars. Well, except for psychology. That was a fantastic completion of not the best day. We were chatting, laying on plaids, looking at the sky and laughing, and everything was perfect. Just the best date of my life. An exemplary one. I really mean it. Maybe there was something wrong with me, for I was impressed by the sky and not by the stores. And when we were going home, something happened, and then I realized completely that I had made the right choice. They were waiting for us near my house. I don't know who revealed to Jackson that today I had a date with Harry too, but that narcissistic jerk appeared almost on the doorstep of my house, and he wasn't alone, but with his friends. And, of course, they immediately attacked Harry. I mean those friends, not Jackson. Jackson's brain was only enough to call me names from his spot, and periodically shout at me that I was stupid to go out with this nerd. I didn't listen to him. I screamed, attracting the attention of my neighbors, and called the police myself. But Harry also did a great job without me. He decked 3 jerks to the asphalt almost without strain. That's how the police caught us. 3 were lying, and the guys were standing in front of me drilling each other with their eyes. When the cops asked what was going on here, I acted terribly illogical. I didn't even expect that from myself. I approached Harry, took his hand, and told a tragic story to the cops with a crying face. We were a pair of sweethearts, and we were on our way home returning from the best date, so that we could certainly arrive in time before curfew. Harry accompanied me like a knight, and then these jerks appeared. They attacked us, threatened us, and behaved disgustingly. As a result, the cops took the hooligans to the police station, and I took Harry to my room, for he needed someone to treat the grazes on his fists. And when the medical assistance was provided, the words were said, and it was time for the guy to leave. I kissed him myself. I really kissed him right on the lips. The terrible day ended absolutely amazing, though illogically. But feelings seem to be something that don't care about logic. They just exist, and it's only up to you to decide what to do with them, whether indulge in or ignore them. Still, I did what Mr. Smith advised me to do. I listened to my heart, but in the morning, I had to face the same mess at school. Offended by my refusal, and having spent the night at the police station, Jackson put on an ugly show right in the school corridor. He shouted that I would regret what I had done, and that I should understand where my place was, that I should start to learn to kiss his shoes already. I just laughed at him. His childish threats didn't touch me in any way, for I had seen more terrible people in my life before. Besides, Jackson could actually do nothing to me, except maybe for his blue fantasies. He could only shake the air and spoil my mood with his stupidity. Harry and I are now sitting together and holding hands defiantly. They took me to the club of smart guys, and all the smart guys were happy about it. I have no idea why. Certainly, many didn't like Jackson, but they began to adore me, not because of the fact that I put him in his place, right? However, soon Jackson and his screams from the spot became the least of our problems. It was all because Harry began to have some strange troubles with his studies. And that was Harry, the really smartest one of us. For some reason, his tests didn't gain the necessary points, although he still received excellent for his answers, and I had to deal with that riddle as soon as possible. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a continuation of the story. Don't forget to press the bell icon to keep up with the news.